Some of you will remember Calimero, that chick from the Carousel of the 60s, 70s, who, after falling into soot and turning black, was no longer recognized by his mother. As a result of his many misadventures, Calimero constantly felt himself to be the victim of injustice and always said, "Hey, what manners! They always do that here because they are big and I am small and black. It is an injustice though." At the end of each episode came the inevitable Olandesine from Mira Lanza, who proved that Calimero is not black, he is just dirty, and ended with a nice bath and the famous slogan "Ava como lava." From the figure of Calimero, psychologists coined the term Calimero syndrome to define those people who suffer from victimhood. Those who, due to unresolved traumas or problems in childhood, always blame others for their unhappiness. If for Calimero the solution was simply to take a bath with water and ava, for those suffering from Calimero syndrome, it takes a different kind of washing, freeing themselves from the emotional cage in which they have enclosed themselves, and in which they also try to include those close to them through emotional manipulation or emotional blackmail. By rereading and reinterpreting their history from another point of view. An interesting solution is that of radical forgiveness that Professor Colin Tipping proposes in his book I read this week, entitled Radical Forgiveness. Here the author talks about his sister Jill, who was always blaming others for her unhappiness, until she managed to reread her story from another perspective and the turning point came. She realized that her victimizing attitude was due to unresolved childhood problems in her relationship with her father, by whom she felt unloved. This had instilled in her the conviction that she was not worthy to being loved, and so in the affronts she received from others, she found confirmation of her conviction. Colin proposed to her the path of radical forgiveness, not in the sense of traditional forgiveness, where we strive to forgive those we feel are guilty of an affront against us, but by forgiving ourselves. Stop being angry with ourselves all the time, and letting go naturally by seeing problems as an opportunity to heal. From the recovery of our self-esteem and radical forgiveness comes a renewed relationship with ourselves and others, whom we will no longer see as antagonists, but as people like ourselves in search of their own space in this world. The body will also benefit, as psychologists claim, and the problems relating to anxiety, stress, insomnia, and thus a radical reversal of the self-destructive march in which we found ourselves. Jesus in today's Gospel also speaks to us of radical forgiveness when he says that we must forgive 70 times 7. That is, always. And the reason why we must forgive is not just for the psychological benefits that forgiveness brings, as seen earlier, but for spiritual reasons. We must forgive because we have been forgiven. The parable of the first servant who was forgiven a huge debt and failed to forgive a much smaller debt of the second servant reveals to us that the unforgiving servant is us, who fail to realize the infinite disproportion between what we have been given and what we are asked to give. When the day comes that the Lord, as today's parables tells us, wants to settle the score with us, the victimhood with which we often justify our choleric attitude towards others will not work. He knows perfectly well our cunning disguised as innocent victimhood. So let us really stop being always turned against everything and everyone. Let us stop blackmailing family and friends by forcing them to take our side against others we feel have offended us. But let us free ourselves and others from our obsessions. More than forgive, we are asked to be forgiveness. So it is no longer a matter of numbers, 3, 7, 70 times 7, but of essence of infinity, just like God. To conclude, this year Calimero turns 60, but he is still small and black. And we are roughly his age. Have we grown up and become adults capable of forgiveness, capable of infinity? Or have we remained little chicks, still basking in our miserable victimhood? Let us not forget that along the road of our journey of liberation, we will not find Olandesine ready to wash us in the tub of they did Calimero, as they did Calimero. But we will only find self-cleaning stations where everyone will have to wash themselves.